On PM Express tonight, a very interesting conversation that we began last week, exclusive insight into what has been happening at Masloc. My colleague Manasseh Zria, when he did the investigative work into the Masloc grounded vehicles. But tonight we're asking, fixing the problem with similar government interventions in the past. It's a broader conversation that must be had beyond just Masloc. But let's look at the specifics as Manasseh had uncovered. We know that Masloc procured 100 buses and 250 saloon cars in 2016. Also, our investigations reveal that the vehicles were inflated by as much as 18 million cedis. The supplier of the vehicles, Mark Autos and Spare Parts Ghana Limited, was exempted from paying duty on this, and this amounted to huge cost to the state. 10.5 million Ghana cedis, the GRA has told us. The vehicles were bought to be given to the GPLTU on hire purchase, and you see one of those vehicles in the background there in the shot on the screen behind me. The GPLTU, however, rejected the vehicles because the prices, they told us, were too high. So Masloc has written to seek approval to reduce the prices in order to dispose the vehicles off, and we'll be getting into what is going to happen to the vehicles in their current state. Now, the 100 buses and 250 saloon cars have now been, we understand, have been left in the sun for a while. And as you can see there, a lot of them are grown with weeds and bush. Fantastic vehicles, but have grown with weeds and bush. We're going to be interrogating what we're going to do with this. However, Masloc is just one of many other, government interventions, such as NYEP, JIDA, LESDEP, YesDEC, a number of them have had similar challenges in the past. So we know they've been hit with similar controversies. And so the big question, how do we fix the problem with these government interventions? But most important, with this Masloc challenge that we are facing on our hands, what is the way forward in getting these vehicles off the hands of the state so that we don't lose all the monies that we put into it? We'll be having a discussion with people who understand this, the bigger conversation about what Masloc raises up next here on PM Express. Stay with us. You are live on PM Express. My guest in the studio is the CEO of Masloc, Mr. Stephen Amwa, joins us in the studio. Also with me tonight is my colleague Manasseh Zuriawuni, who dug up the details as we presented at the top of this show. We'll also be joined via Skype by the president of Imani Africa, Franklin Kujo, will join us via Skype as we have a conversation about Masloc and other such state interventions. Manasseh, so since last week, I know you've been pursuing this. We've heard a series of them. Have we had anything in terms of conclusion, some closure to the revelations that we've seen over the last week?
Well, Evans, the latest I can say is that I know the GPRTU, which is supposed to be the beneficiary or recipient of these vehicles. I spoke to the executives and they are still saying that they are not rejecting the vehicles, they are interested in them. The only problem has to do with the prices. So as we speak, if the prices are able to come down, they would readily go for them. We are also told, and I'm happy the CEO of Masloc is here, that they have written to higher authorities to see if these prices can be reviewed, because quite a number of people who commented on this story actually said, well, it has already happened. People should be punished, but we should also ensure that we are able to at least get something from these vehicles so that they don't go waste, like the vehicles at the Medina, the local government institute. We are talking about the 86 gallopers. So we are hoping that the approval will be given and the GPRTU and maybe other individuals would go in and get these vehicles, and the state wouldn't have to perhaps lose tries, because we've lost in terms of the inflation, we've lost in terms of the duty we could not get, and so if the vehicles are allowed to go waste, we are going to lose the third time, and that we are very certain that wouldn't happen. And since Mr. Amwa is here, he'll be able to give us.
What for you are the big issues from the documentary that you did, from the investigation? The big issues that needs addressing?
The big issue and the investigation or documentary goes beyond the Masloc vehicles, and we are also talking about some 245 Ayalolo buses, which I think are even more expensive than the Masloc ones. That we are talking about $61 million, and if you add the spare parts, you're talking about $62 million. This one is around $13.5 million that has been paid. But we have those ones, you have the Masloc, we have the gallopers, and those ones cannot be salvaged. And we're also talking about the ambulances. So the bigger picture is that those who go into this procurement in future should be a bit more careful. Because if you look at some of the things they did at the time of procurement, one can say that if they were doing that with their own money, you'll be sure they wouldn't take those steps. Because you speak to the GPRTU and they told me that, well, there wasn't even a contract before these vehicles were brought in. There was no agreement on the prices. They did not even know of the quantity that was being brought. And so they had their own specs, they had their own preferences. And I'm very sure if those procuring those vehicles were doing that with their own money, they should be certain they should have reached an agreement with those who were taking them even before bringing them. If you look at these Ayalolo buses too, the World Bank actually wrote to us. We sent an email and they responded. And their response was that they advised the government, or the project design stated that they should start with 80 vehicles or buses, and we brought 245. The project design even said the government should build the infrastructure and license the operators to do it, but the government decided to go into the purchasing of the vehicles. So it said the government deviated from the implementation strategy. So if you put all of this together, it means somebody at the time who was put in charge of spending our money did not do due diligence and did not pursue the best interest of the state in all of these transactions. That is the conclusion one can come to after reviewing the documents and everything that happened from the beginning till we speak.
So, Stephen, so what is happening to these vehicles? Which is the big question everybody's asking.
My regards to our viewers this evening, but you know I have been ambushed. Because you gave me the impression that I'm going to talk about where Masloc has been.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
I'm okay with this,
yeah,
and I thought probably this would just come then.
Yeah.
But now this is the major issue. And before I also
we're going to have a bigger conversation.
Before I'm cool with that. Before I also talk, I also suggest, not advise, that if you're calling anybody to speak on these issues, I beg you, let people who have information, data, to speak. I don't want people to speak and they introduce arbitrariness in their statement, because sometimes it hurts. When you work so hard, you give your best out, you change situations, people don't come closer. We live in a country that people...
In the national security...
People display their ego trips, or sometimes their unconscious incompetence. And they say all manner of things because they have the opportunity to talk to the bigger picture. And by doing that, they mislead people and demotivate people who want to work for this country. So I beg you, if somebody's coming to speak on this issue, I'm expecting the person or the person institution has come closer to us, just as Manessa did, to inquire, so that when the person is making any statement, drawing any inferences, it's not just out of arbitrariness, but objectivity. I just beg you.
No,
that
thankfully we are here, so
I'll move on. I think the cars, in my opinion, are in very good conditions.
They are?
Of course. I'm the type that, because I don't indulge in any antisocial behaviors, I believe in myself, I open up. I believe in open culture system. Seriously. I'm not saying I'm perfect. The cars were serviced just a few months ago by the suppliers themselves. We worked on that. We know what we are doing.
So the suppliers came and serviced the vehicles?
Yes, some people have started.
At your invitation?
Yes, we did that and paid for.
Okay.
But of course, we had to negotiate because of the circumstances. We had to change a few things, maybe like filter, these normal things that you do in servicing. And some have started actually even coming for the cars.
As you mentioned, some people are buying the cars.
Sure.
Are these? Is this GPL to you?
No. Okay. So they, because of the price.
They cannot.
Because the priority is that we want government to actually save money as much as possible. Okay. So if we can get people to buy even all of them at this present price, that will be our priority or my priority. If we don't, and then we reduce it, then of course we'll talk to GPRTU, because I think it will be fair to give them the, how do I put it, for first point of call, give them the chance to. But trust me, some are procuring them now, but the fact is also that it's at a very slow pace because of the prices. Some are, especially the item type, is it, if that is the spark light or the Avenue. Yes. Yeah, because even though it's expensive, people think they can still do Uber with it and make some gains, and because of the higher purchase approach or model. So it's not that bad, but the cars are really in good condition.
So you've discounted them?
For now, no.
You sell them at the same price?
Yeah, because I need approval. We are working on that. You know.
So those who are buying it, at what price are they buying it?
The same price, because you pay 10% and we spread the rest. And that was the arrangement that had been put in place between Masloc and GPRTU.
I found it very interesting, because for cars to be on there for that time, they would have lost some value.
Yes.
Naturally.
Yes and no. Yes and no, because it depends on how they are being maintained. The fact that they are there doesn't mean we are not maintaining them. Seriously, we are. And two, you're talking about depreciation. I don't think it will really be very remarkable, because they are not being put to use to increase tear and wear or friction. I hope you understand what I'm saying. But of course, definitely there could be a remarkable amount of what you're talking about is possible. But trust me, the cars are in very good condition. The issue is not about the condition of the cars. The issue is about the prices that are way above market average. Yeah. And that's what probably we find ourselves.
That is why I was thinking, I mean, at this point, the main concern, I think one of the things you yourself have alluded to, is what do we do as a state so that we don't lose money? What is the plan?
What we have to do is to make sure that as much as possible we make some savings for the state. Because the harm, in my opinion, has already been done. The problem was basically with the prices. They were very high, way above market average. And we did what we could within a year, try to renegotiate the price down so that people could use. Because if you want to procure these cars, first thing you need to check is that you are giving out to market actors. You should consider their turnovers or their sales per day and other cost build-up, and see whether practically they can make use of the cars and pay back and expand their economic life or purchasing power. I don't know what actually went into it. And I also think it is a problem with our country, not necessarily within the political jurisdiction. The fact is, Evans, when people are ready to engage in businesses, they don't, elsewhere, what they don't do. Sitting down to design and draw the entire value chain or network of what you want to do, understand each segment, because that would have informed you whether the financing aspect will be enough to make sure that the complete cycle that you need to start a business and end well, you would have gone in.
But if you have an intention to dupe the state, you have the
exactly.
You wouldn't have
some people too.
The presence of mind to do what
you know. Sometimes that is, in fact, it was one of the major reasons that, as ethical as I am, any finance person, when you have issues with figures, you've come to inherit. You engage the person directly involved, and I really extended my hand to my predecessor. The case is in court, so I don't want to go in there.
But you reached out.
Yeah,
because you wanted to understand.
You know, I mean, you call the person, you sit down, you check some of the figures, and you realize that, oh, probably on the face of it is this, but these are the real issues. And that thing was turned down.
You got cooperation?
No, not at all. I mean, I don't want to go into all these things. But the fact is that the most surprising thing is the difference. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
The price.
It's beyond my understanding that you purchase a large number of cars. At least even the buses alone, 100 wholesale price. People talk about the fact that, oh, because it's for higher purchase. That is seriously not exactly so. Under no circumstance that retail price should be higher than wholesale price. That one, no, it shouldn't be. It should be far below, because you are sending this on the market to compete with those who have procured the same cars at the retail level. So what competition are you creating? But the difference of about $30,000 per bus was extremely absurd. I mean, I don't want to go in there. But of course, we live in a country that people can do anything. We live in a country people drive from Adenta to Ridge. And increasingly we are having barefooted kids. They don't feel anything within them, and they go to church and go to the mosque. We all can make mistakes. You live in a country that they bought plane, and it's London, and this is the capital city, and you look down, and about 97% by observation. You know, observation is one of the methods in research. This city is basically very dusty. But you go to Ethiopia, you go to Gaborone, these are all African countries. You see their capital, things like that, and people don't feel anything. So they will debate anyhow. They will say whatever they want. But the fact of the matter is that some of us, in spite of the fact that we can make mistakes, will never ever engage in any activity that will not yield productivity for this country.
So these vehicles, how many have been bought so far?
If I don't have the figures, I will be a liar. I don't have. And one person, because the way Ghana is, you quote and just slight margin, somebody just use that against you. But I know the buses, just a few.
Okay. You sold a few of the buses?
Just a few. I think, in fact, single number, if I should put it.
Okay.
And then,
so that's between 1 and 9?
I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's a single number. But if you talk about is it the spark light?
Yeah.
The one like the item, quite a number of them.
And you haven't reduced the prices at all?
We are working on that. Okay. Boss, reducing the prices, we know how our country is. You know, one thing that I'm being honest with you, our president has told us is that whatever we are doing that has financial implication, we should be very careful, because he will not spare us, whether it's a mistake or not. It doesn't mean we are all perfect. It doesn't mean we can make mistakes. I don't have my exclusive right, my prerogative or discretion to go and just cut it. It has to go through processes.
Okay.
And if you don't do it, you're the same people, Manesse, yourself, and others, who hold our neck. Even when you're doing your best, still people want to get you demotivated. So it's a process. We'll get there.
So you've written to the finance ministry?
Yes.
To get clearance?
Yes, and they are working on it.
Your proposal is to reduce the prices for people to buy?
Yes.
Okay. But that begs the question. I mean, you say people are buying the vehicles, but if the approval has not come, how are you managing to sell the vehicles?
It hasn't come. We are still selling them, just because the price is making it quite difficult for people to purchase. That's why we're trying to pick another option. You know, in decision-making processes in the world, you have a goal. A goal is to get these cars on the market working. You have alternatives. You pick one and you think you're not getting to your goals. You attempt another one. Okay.
So in other words, those who are buying it right now are buying it at the original price?
Yes, for now.
But because it's going slow, you are looking for
extremely slow.
Extremely slow.
We don't want to lose.
You're not looking to get permission to reduce the prices to offload it.
Yes.
Okay. To cut your losses. I mean,
at least to make more savings.
Okay. Manasseh, without your work, this is what I would call that. I mean, it's something.
We started working on that before he came. It's not because of Manasseh's work. We've gone through a lot.
Yeah.
When he came, I had quite extensive discussion with him. We had done a lot. It's not easy handling public staff, especially in Ghana. We had done a lot. But I also want to say that probably his work has also dealt with the issue of asymmetric information, that all stakeholders are now privy to most of the things. Hitherto or prior to that, people were making all sorts of statements. So I think his work too has also helped.
Fantastic point you just made, because it just reminded me of something that he touched on, which is the duties, right? The duties that we've given to the company that brought the cars in, that required parliamentary approval but doesn't have parliamentary approval. Isn't that an avenue government can explore? In terms of insisting that the private company comes and pays the 10 million CDs that we
you know something. One thing that people should know, the distinction I want all stakeholders to draw, is the fact that most of the issues surrounding these vehicle saga that are not palatable to us or dysfunctional to the performance of our own republic actually prevailed under the previous regime or under the leadership of my predecessor in the previous government. When we took over Masloc, they became inevitable staff. Other than that, probably the suppliers would have sued our government, and probably judgment debt over 100 million will go on. And that period that will be going back and forth in court, the vehicle would have been there for another 3 or 4 years. Well, we are all considering how best we can. Because you know what? There had been a letter written to that effect by the finance ministry. Of course, that means in collaboration with Masloc. It was the government on the other side.
Yeah.
So the suppliers, what did they do? I don't think they went to the harbor, used some tricks and intrigues, and took the cars from there.
Okay. So government gave them...
Exactly, except that Parliament did not approve.
Okay.
But Masloc, on the part of the government, took custody of the cars. So when we came, people are saying, oh, they didn't pay, whatever. We just discovered. But even prior to we even paying them, I'm sure what would have happened was once finance ministry even wrote to them, whatever, they would have had a case. It wouldn't have been an easy task. Probably government could have won or lost. But trust me, it would have dragged to about 3 years. And if they had sued government, because once we had appended our signatures on that, Masloc and then the supplier agreed to purchase the cars at those prices, and they had delivered and had taken custody. Anything that would have happened couldn't have stopped anybody from going ahead, apart from renegotiating the prices down. And in that one, you couldn't have imposed your will or your option on them. So sometimes, let us critically analyze issues and be fair to ourselves and try to encourage those who are trying. It's not easy. I mean, I'm not saying I'm perfect, I'm an angel. I'm not saying I can't conclude my predecessor had bad motive or good motive. It's yet to be determined by the court. But what I'm saying is sometimes we don't encourage the good side. We concentrate on the bad side and people get discouraged. And it's like, why do you even do all these things? Because you love the state. The fact is, whether there was tax issues, whether there were prices high, whether the contract was good or bad, all these things, we got ourselves engulfed, because our predecessors or the previous government had signed, and you took over organization, you take over the liabilities and the assets. So some of these things, there was no way you could have done it unless any legal practitioner could say that A, B, C. And that's why I was so surprised at the statements made by Prof. Steve.
Yeah.
Because I'll
come to that substantive. Because
I think
thing that we need to explore.
such issues, they should come closer sometimes. Probably they could even advise. I mean, even in the developed countries, where systems are very good, corruption is highly minimized, people make mistakes.
The point you're making is, you've been at this position, those who have not heard it, because you made reference, I need to clarify that, is he was not enthused that this current government went ahead and made the payments, in spite of the fact that there's a belief that the contract was vitiated by possible fraud and etc. Prices inflated, which was really clear on the face of it. And the question he asked was, why would government go ahead and make these payments when these issues were very clear? Manasseh?
Yes, and I think he was not talking about the payment in general, but payment of the face value of the, in quote, inflated contract or inflated amount. So he was thinking we could have negotiated it down, and he still spoke about the what's the name, the duty that was waived. And on that aspect, I actually went to the GRA and then they asked, and what the GRA is saying is that there was a letter from the finance ministry to that effect, even though it has not been approved by Parliament. That letter still holds. So for the GRA to pursue Mark Ghana for the 10.5 million cedis, then it means the Finance Ministry would have to write withdrawing or revoking that waiver.
Okay.
So that the GRA can now go ahead and pursue the amount that was waived for the duty to be withheld. So that is the problem now. We're still trying to find out from the Finance Ministry whether it is willing to go ahead and then revoke this waiver that it granted Mark Ghana, or it would say, okay, Mark Ghana, continue to enjoy this waiver because it has not been approved by Parliament. If that approval was given, then one might argue it was now beyond the Finance Ministry. But since that is hanging, Professor Stephen Adair believes or thinks the Finance Ministry should write back and revoke it now that it is clear that the prices are problematic, so that at least if we cannot get anything at all, the 10.5 million Ghana cedis, which was supposed to have been paid as duty on these vehicles, would be retrieved, because the vehicles they are selling to the general public, those that we wrote for quotations, they had a component of duty, the duty. So if they are selling this to the general public at, let's say, 10 cedis, the buses, when we wrote, they were selling it at $79,000. That's last year, August.
That is without VAT or something? Or is with VAT?
With VAT.
I think VAT. I saw two figures, 79 and 82.
Yes, I'm talking about the duty. We are talking about duty at least.
Okay.
Because they cleared those ones and were selling to the public. But those they sold to Masloc were without the duty paid. So if you look at the two, and those who deal in vehicles would know that sometimes the duty on vehicles we import, sometimes it's almost
it's more than the cost of the vehicle
the cost
itself.
of the vehicle at its point of sale. So I think that is an important component we still need to follow up and get closure on. We've been trying to get our sources from the Ministry of Finance to tell us exactly what it intends to do now that there is evidence that the disparity between the prices the company sells to the public and then the prices at which it's sold to Masloc, the disparity is so high.
The company admits that. I said that they explained to you that it's because we're not paying upfront, and so
yes,
because they're paying over a period.
That's why
period
of 20
the prices were that expensive.
24 months. And the procurement people we spoke to also spoke about the economies of scale, which Mr. Amwa also talked about, because when we went, we were trying to find prices of individual vehicles, but the government was buying 350 vehicles at a go. So these are some of the nuances that we
I think, Manes, this issue about Prof. Steve thing, I mean, somebody of his caliber, when a young man like me is talking, I should be careful. But let me tell you something. I think he got it wrong. He got it wrong. Let me ask you, renegotiating price down, it wasn't like it was we had our exclusive whatever that we could. We wouldn't have even paid at all or said we are paying the market price. Look, right now, let me ask you, if Joy FM decides to purchase a set of items from company A, let's assume the management at that time did not know or deliberately allowed the prices to go up like 1,000 times. And the present management signed agreement that we have agreed to purchase these things at these prices. They deliver the stuff, you take custody that accepted. Please, I mean, I'm not a lawyer. So there are things you shouldn't, Prof could have said that, oh, even if they say we could have renegotiated further. Did you know the amount of work that went into it? For about 6 months, 1 year. In fact, I was killing somebody like me. I'm not lying to you. It wasn't an easy thing, somebody. That's why I'm saying that. I think one major difficulty is how to manage asymmetric information, where not all stakeholders are privy to the same pieces of information, but others think they have to display their ego trips. We had nothing to do. We have been entangled. We're only begging for those things to be reduced. Other than that, we could have decided and say, okay, we want to go to court. I don't think, I'm not a lawyer anyway.
Was the Attorney General brought into advice at all?
Oh yeah, we had a letter from them from them, but they have their internal issues. I'm not a legal person. That's why normally areas that are outside my jurisdiction, I'm extremely careful.
That's why I was asking whether
you understand. I'm extremely careful.
That, yeah.
When I saw all those things, my first thing was the price. I'm a finance person. Just by observation, I realized no, this calculation it wouldn't work. So let's try to re-engage them and make sure. And they reduced it by 700,000.
Okay, so they actually reduced it after
Of course, there was reduction. But what I'm saying is that for somebody to say, oh, I feel there was something fishy, there's something that, one thing people should know, it's not everybody that is in politics that is interested in being corrupt.
Looting the public.
You understand? It's not everybody. We're all brought up differently. I can even make terrible mistake and cause financial loss to the state. It could be there and even be jailed. It doesn't matter. But deliberately, I cannot and I will not. But what I'm saying is that people should always be careful the statements they make because they hurt people unnecessarily. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, the concentration shifted from how the state had lost this huge amount because of probably actions and inactions of somebody and concentrating on, in my opinion, peripherals. All that I'm saying is that with a little knowledge that I have in company law, because if you do finance, you do a bit, but I'm not a lawyer, so I may not really have all the expertise. I stand to be corrected. Once Masloc appended its signature, and they also appended, and they delivered, and you took custody, surprisingly, it will be very difficult.
Let me quickly, and Manasseh, I know you have a lot to say, I'll bring you in shortly, but there's a bigger conversation. You know, Masloc isn't the only state intervention designed to help the ordinary Ghanaian stand on his feet, the youth, those entrepreneurs, that has been hit with trouble such as this. And we'll come back to Stephen Amar shortly about the bigger plan and how you plan to reform Masloc and your vision for Masloc to make it different from what it used to be, because you took over at a time when, as we know it, that's why your predecessor is in court. There's a lot of challenges there, and you need to clear that mess. I'm curious to find out what you're doing specifically to do that and change Masloc's image. Manasseh will come to you shortly, but let me go back to the phone line. So let me bring in the president of Imani Africa, Franklin Kujo, who's joining us on the line right now. Mr. Kujo, I'm grateful for your time here on PM Express.
It's a pleasure, my brother. Good evening to your guest.
Thank you very much. And tell me, I mean, I know in Imani Africa you've been monitoring these various government interventions over the years, and each time we are going into one of those, Imani will issue a warning and tell us this is not the way to go. And there are many of them that you've talked about. I don't have to bore my listeners and viewers with this, but we're talking about Masloc today. But we've heard about JIDA in the past, NYEP, YesDec, etc. With the Masloc one, though, I guess it's also one of those examples that had led us into corruption. But I wonder, what is it fundamentally with these interventions that seem always to create problems for us?
Because they are just conduits for highway robbery. I mean, clearly. I mean, these are never institutions that are doing any good at all. None. None whatsoever. If you look at the history of these scams, I call them scams, schemes, they never really turn out to do give us the necessary, should I say, the benefits that we're always expecting of them. They've always been conduit for one contract to another contract, or for political hatchets being hid into some government programs. And if you do a proper assessment, you realize that we've just wasted monies all these years. I mean, I think Manasseh must even be tired. A number of times he has to review some of these scams. I call them scams. They are not even schemes. So for me, in fact, at Imani, we've never really believed that these schemes should exist in the first place. So it's the best thing to do is to just disband all these schemes, because they are not helping us at all. Look, let the gentleman who is currently, I think he's the current CEO of Masloc, let him leave office. Let him leave office and see. I'm not saying he's doing anything untoward, but I'm pretty sure that some of the interventions themselves are not economically beneficial. And somebody will come back and say, you did this, you didn't do this, you did that, you didn't do this. I mean, when will we ever learn? that government-created schemes never give us any proper results. So this is much more a condemnation of the schemes. It's not even an issue of unintended consequences. The consequences are designed from day one to just waste money. So please, the best way to gladden the hearts of the likes of Manasseh and everybody else who has questions about these enterprise is to disband these schemes and probably use the money. I mean, Evans, I'm sorry, but I don't have any other sweet words for no matter the intentions of whoever is the CEO. I mean, look, as the CEO sits there, I'm pretty sure that he must be getting directives from the political class as to what to do, what not to do. He probably say no, but we all know it. We've seen all of this before. It happens every time.
I was going to ask you why you think some of these schemes fail to deliver the needed outcomes.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, the priority for their designs, their interventions are not, in fact, they are not productive. They are not economically driven. Anything that has the state mandate to deliver these social schemes always end up in these bizarre outcomes. You just go back in history, in Ghana's history, and just look at all the schemes. Even when the Westerners are giving you money to adjust your own structure adjustment programs, we ended up wasting the funds and wasting the money. So, look, the history of Masloc especially is not any prettier. So, look, rather than spend money to spend and design programs that ordinarily should be done by some properly propped up private sectors, which should have the ability to use this money properly, and government only asks for a return. I'm sorry, anything that is usually organized by government with all these funds and schemes, and unfortunately, I'm sorry, Mr. Amwa, I don't have good words to express Masloc and the rest, no matter how well-intentioned they are. Because eventually, we end up here. We just end up here. Look at all the schemes under Mahama, bus branding, anything involving cars. Somebody needs to sit somewhere and make and create some scenario, procurement scenario, and then benefit from it. It's always procurement laden. Go into the history and they should just tell me what one particular scheme that has gone through proper procurement that we can say this procurement is above board, has no not just political interest, but it's not even short-term.
So I wonder, if it doesn't work, why do our governments do it?
Yeah, because it benefits them. They recruit people through these unorthodox methods of so-called social interventions, and then spread the misery all across. Do a proper assessment of the programs. The previous administration, just look at all the monies we pumped into Masloc and do a proper evaluation and find out whether it really benefited the intended beneficiaries, beyond some people taking loans and not paying back, and all kinds of things. I mean, Evans, we can't pretend to be mocking ourselves this way. I don't get it.
Yeah,
it's better we put that money aside. Probably have, of course, I think the Ministry for Business Development has also been doing something called entrepreneurship, something. Maybe that even has a semblance of some seriousness, even though we know that a lot of those persons who are getting these deals themselves are party apparatchiks and all of that. The fact of the matter is that anything designed mostly by our government, not this government alone, mostly. I mean, you have about 600 million Ghana cities you want to spend on something called National Builders Corp. Look at the models. Ask yourself, how many of them are productive, economically productive? You're going to spend 600 million into a scheme like that.
Yeah.
You've not even done any proper assessment to determine the impact on the economy. It's either you call it a social intervention, a social welfare-based scheme, where we are happy when we are spending the money without any proper return. I don't know, call them economic
I want to
initiatives.
quickly, Mr. Sibinama, who is the CEO of Masloc, has an intervention.
Well, I think I should be allowed
agree.
to speak. He's spoken at length.
Yeah.
It will be fair. I'm allowed to speak.
Sure.
In the first place, I disagree with what Franklin is saying. I think in our country, if he really understands how any developing country in terms of our economy should be built, you should understand that certain models or policies or policy tools are inevitable. I think as a think tank, you should help how this country can manage these inevitable frameworks well, rather than say we should abandon them. Do you understand that our economy or market is basically the defensive type? When we say defensive type, in finance or investment, their systematic risk index is far less than 1. And these type of markets form about 80 to 90% of our entire market, the SMEs. They have no access to funds, or they have very slim chance of getting money from these traditional banks or orthodox banks. Where they can have access, it's models such as what we are having. In any case, problems will collapse and dwindling of these organizations. It's not only this government policy staff. How many companies owned by Ghanaians after independence are still existing? How many banks, even owned by private men, have not collapsed? Culturally, we have problems. We have unsystematic risk factors problems in our country. So he shouldn't say that it will never work. I want Franklin to understand that sustainability is an issue, and he is cautioned, that one I agree. But he shouldn't throw things out of the track the way he's talking. I was expecting that Imani would have come closer and like find out a few things, and he would have said, oh, it will still not work based on what I'm having, or you can do things this way. I am telling you, all microfinancial institutions in the world, including Masloc, they have core or key performance appraisal parameters. One, structure. Structure is broad. You're talking about, it could be building, administration. You can talk about structural organogram, functional organograms, how things are put in place. Then you talk about funds mobilization. You talk about disbursement. You talk about recovery. You talk about managing your excess liquidity. You talk about integrated ICT system all over the world. As I'm talking to you now, there are problems. Yes, I'm not saying 100% we are out. We have old loans and new loans. Old loans because the way the monies were given out. MPP first started 2006-07, thereabout they lost power. Part of it is part. NDC came 8 years and extended to this time. They are the old loans. We are struggling, yes, because of the way they were disbursed and other structural issues. But the new loans we gave out, that they are due for collection, we've done about 85%.
Under your term?
Yes. 2.
In terms of collection?
Yes, as I'm talking to you, I should have brought the sample cards of our Visa cards. Now, Masloc is going to go integrated ICT system, automated system down to the district. Cards that ensure financial inclusion. I'm not saying we are perfect or we are there. We realize that apart from the partisanship nature that characterized all these, as he's saying, and which is true, one major difficulty was the fact that there were not even offices nationwide. And it's in the district that we have these small businesses, tomato growers, poultry farmers, and stuff like that. So there's a
concentration.
So when people move from Sege to Accra, from Plains to Kumasi or Koforidia, Chirponi to Tamale, and they collect our facilities and go, you couldn't find them. So we agree to set up district offices, get our interfaces closer to them so that we can monitor, especially in a situation where we don't have good address system. As I'm talking to you now, we have 216 district offices. And that's within 2 years. We're not having money enough because we're having liquidity challenges. So we partnered, there's a NAPCO, that I'm telling you, by 1 month time, some of them have even started working. But you can't say, throw this away, abandon this, abandon that. Then we should stop operating all banks in Ghana. Recently, how many banks did not go down the drain? We lost Cooperative Bank years back. We lost Bank for Housing and Construction years back. We had Jude Factory and OCO. So all those things. So you cannot say that abandon this will not work, probably is this, is party up. Okay, look, even in America, even in England, most of the problems you're having here, in terms of in terms of probably magnitude or its impact, broad impact. Ours is different because we're a developing country. But all these things are experienced there. Why was Tony Blair investigated cash for honest in 2006 thereabout? These are the issues that as a developing country will be confronted with. But you don't say that everything is rubbish. Everything is this. Abandon that. When you yourself, because he made this statement some time back, I threw challenge, I'm sure he heard. I'm sure if you really also have this nation at heart, you come closer and then say, oh, I think still, let's close it. Or these are the challenges. Because you can't say that we don't need an institution that will bridge the gap between small and medium-sized enterprise and the large companies in accessing funds and other things. Yeah. When SMEs form about 90% of your country.
Very quickly.
Is that how you should manage a country's economy?
Manasseh, you've done a lot of work on this.
I'm surprised.
Before I come back
and
to
I think
Franklin,
making a statement like it's a conduit of highway robbery and stuff like that, I think it is totally wrong.
Because you're on the phone lines, I'd like to hear you very quickly
totally wrong. And unacceptable because you do that.
Let's say I'll come back to you. Yes, Frank.
I think one day you bring him on the studio and we all
debate. Yes, let me hear you quickly.
Notwithstanding the very elementary economics being displayed on your program, I've got to tell you quite frankly, my brother, the facts of the issues you are discussing doesn't bear with the reality on the
ground. It's on.
In any case, hello.
Frankly, it takes exception to elementary.
What do you mean by elementary economy? What economy do you understand, frankly?
I want us to address the substance.
Then you should come to here and let's do proper debate. Because I think you don't know what you're even talking about.
You want to address that for me?
Exactly. You don't even understand what I'm talking about.
Let's focus on the substance.
You are talking about systematic risk index being used to explain this as elementary. Please, if you don't understand, don't behave like you have control over everything on earth. This is totally, I mean, oh please. I think you are displaying your ego trips. You don't even understand the issues. But his statement is very, very wrong. How can you say this elementary thing being displayed on that? Do you even understand systematic risk index? Do you understand it? No, but this is very, I think it's very bad of you. When I was talking, I never said anything bad. I think you should respect other people. You can't choose any grammar, any word, any time, just because you want to display your ego trips.
Let him address that. Yes,
this is totally unacceptable. I think we should respect each other's view. You can't heap scorn on others.
Mr. Amwa.
Please, I'm saying you can't heap scorn on others. It is wrong. No, but he should withdraw that statement.
Sorry, I mean, that's the point that he's making to you.
He has never said that. It's wrong.
I just said it, but no, because
I know him, I respect him so much. But I think he should understand that people have their opinions and views.
It just addressed.
Where from that word? It was so uncalled for.
I want him to address the issue.
I understand you, please. I'm sorry. You can't do that, please.
I didn't even use the word elementary in a pejorative manner. I was just saying that all that you are saying, listen, all that you are saying, it's the basics of economics anyway. People will still need money, the medium, lower,
medium, so don't say elementary, whatever, being displayed there.
So,
that was
can I just
come in? Okay, thanks.
Yes, please. Frankly, yes. Wrap it up for me.
Yeah, so that was the backbone with which I delivered those comments. But let me just say that, look, we all know the history of microfinance, and we all know the history of the way the interest rates have become a reason for which some of these interventions may be needed. All we are saying is that the vehicle we are using to do this intervention is faulty. It's faulty because born by history and born by a lot of governments. In fact, I don't like to use another word, but I'm just trying to tell you that most of your interventions can be taken care of by some rather proper vehicles that are interested in making proper returns. That is the point. I mean, we've seen all these come and go, and we are here, we are where we are. Why should Masloc be purchasing hundreds of cars and for the cars to be sitting there and be rotting? If it were not for Manasseh, would he have had it? Would you think that a serious investor would put his money in such a scheme? If it were not only a government entity, if I were running, if Masloc money was used to purchase those cars, and I come as a new administrator into Masloc, I'll probably shut the whole enterprise down and make sure that I find out whether, as an investor, government as an investor is making a loss or is making any headway. Without that, you don't pump in money. So any established bank, worth its salt, would never operate this way. The reason some of the banks went under is simply because of this same behavior. So if you are castigating the banks, for former banks for doing the things they did, for which they went under, why should Masloc be seen as any more serious entity that is just having government money at its behest and does anything it wants? That's the reason why I'm saying the scheme is not working. The vehicle we are using to deliver these so-called social interventions is faulty. It's a scam. Period.
I'm grateful that you joined us, Franklin. We'll take a short break. When we return, I'll get Stephen Amwa's final thoughts on the vision to reform Masloc. He's already started talking about some of the great things you're doing. And I'll hear from Manasseh Zuriawuni as he wraps up with his own work on JIDA, NYE, and all those other vehicles that we know had been hit with their own problems. Stay with us on PM Express. So listening to watching PM Express here on the JoyNews channel. In the studio with me is CEO of Masloc and also Manasseh Zuriawuni. Manasseh.
Yes, I tend to agree and disagree with Franklin. Some of the projects, if you look at the youth employment, for instance, the National Security, at the time, National Security Council advised that if something wasn't done about it, it was going to be a disaster. So the NYEP started in 2006. A good idea, but its implementation can fit so well into what he said is a scam and a conduit to steal money. As we speak, the sweepers contract, we spend 270 million Ghana cedis a year. Only 54 million goes to the 45,000 people. 216 million cedis, representing 80%, is paid to a company called Zoom Lion to manage them. If you look at Yes Dep, Less Dep, and all of them, it goes through the same trend. So the intention may be good, but when you look at the concrete evidence on the ground, for me, I think it's scandalous. I would want to just end with a bit of clarification from Mr. Amwa. When we wrote to Ghana, they confirmed that $13,550,000 has been paid, and then they say there's still an outstanding of $2 million, which they wrote to withdraw. They had given as a discount. My point or my question has to do with this contract was signed in cedis. Why was the negotiation done in dollars? And then finally, if we have paid $13,550,000, if you do the calculation, it is like the full price.
Okay. So
but this company is saying that
we didn't do any negotiation in dollars, please. The negotiations that I was party, nothing. That's what we talk about, 700 million Ghana cedis. Okay. I don't know where people are talking about things. Let me continue. But what I'm saying is, I never did negotiations in dollars. I would have told you. After all, whether
the payment options.
Are you talking about payment or negotiation? You ask a question that why was the negotiation done in that? You understand what I'm saying? But what I'm saying, even whether it's in dollars or cedis, let's be very honest and not to be trivial with issues. Was that conversion or done?
You have talks about what? Payments, right?
You didn't let me respond.
The payments were made in dollars.
Yes, this is what the company
was payments made in dollars?
I don't know what he's talking about. Okay. Seriously, I don't know what he's talking about because I'm being honest with you. The payment was done at the finance ministry. Okay. Whether in dollars or cedis, did they use the right conversion? If the right conversion, what was wrong with it? Okay. So let's face it. I mean, what is a big deal about if it's in dollars or cedis? But we use the right rate.
Wrap up for me.
The point is,
you call me to talk. Are you allowing me to talk? Please.
Wrap up for me. Give me
you didn't let me respond to Franklin's thing. How can I use 1 second? No. The point is, I'm advising Franklin.
I will
do that. But next time, I'm saying next time, he should go closer and find present or current data. That's how you work as a think tank. But you don't display your ego trips and use insolent words. I don't think. Okay. Bring him here.
He actually apologized to you, didn't he?
Yeah, but he likes doing that. He should stop. Okay. It's wrong. I mean, he's doing well in Ghana. I'm not saying he's doing bad.
I'm grateful that you joined us. Manasseh Zuriawuni, thank you also for joining us. Thank you for also watching us on PMS. We'll be back again tomorrow. Enjoy your rest of your evening.
You are called on program.